what was so amazing to me, that's in Uncle Tom 2, I believe, where a lot of people have been using the so-called Black Wall Street thing as an example of racism, and
Yeah.
how the white people stopped the blacks, and now it's hard for the blacks. It's not known by most people, not just black people, but most people, that black so-called Wall Street was rebuilt after it
Yeah.
was torn down. Can you explain that to the folks?
Yeah. Black Wall Street, which was an area in Tulsa, Oklahoma, known as the Greenwood District. Black success, again, black schools, black churches, black businesses. It was a very thriving kind of metropolis in the early 1920s. And there was a brawl. They like to call it a massacre today, a race massacre. It wasn't a
Yeah,
massacre, it was a brawl.
yeah,
It was blacks fighting whites, blacks died, whites died. And, there were some buildings that were burned down, some houses that were burned down as a result. But what they don't tell you is the editor of the newspaper who started all this, whose name was Richard Lloyd Jones. He was a Marxist. He was a liberal. He wrote an article entitled it "Nabbed Negro for Raping White Girl," and his goal was to entice and build a white mob. He was trying to build a mob. What he was doing was actually quite evil, and it worked. White folks showed up to the jailhouse. They demanded that the sheriff releases Dick Rowland, who was arrested for allegedly assaulting a white girl on the elevator. He was later found innocent in 1921. Which is interesting as a side note because it's a time where we are told there was no justice for black people. Every time we were accused of something, we were lynched as a result. No, Dick Rowland was found innocent, due process in Oklahoma in the South, because they followed the law. The sheriff himself did not release Dick Rowland to the mob because he followed the law. He was a Republican, by the way. Now, what ensued as a result of the sheriff not releasing Dick Rowland, again, the mob was very upset. There was also a black mob there. They showed up with their guns. There was a shot fired. Nobody knows who shot the first, who shot their gun first, but there was a brawl that broke out. After it broke out and everything happened the way it did, as you said, blacks got to work rebuilding their community, and they built it back the way that it was, if not better. And it survived and did very well from the early 1920s to around about the 1960s, which ironically was a time where Martin Luther King came into popularization. Now, to the question of why is it that Marxists or liberals would want to see something like that happen? Why would they want for a black community to burn down the way that it did? The answer to that question, as Manning Johnson put it, is that communists did not want blacks to be successful by the process of capitalism. And the people who were successful in Oklahoma were, again, utilizing their capitalistic kind of motives of being successful. The communists didn't like that. They wanted, for example, the blacks to integrate with the communists, not so much with white Southerners. And so for that reason, they would clandestinely stoke kind of race issues, such as the way Richard Lloyd Jones did. They would burn down churches, they would burn down businesses, and they would frame it as if white Southerners did it because white Southerners hate blacks. Again, they would always go out of their way to stoke racial division, because if you can build chaos, you can then come in through the back door and say, look, I have the answer, vote for me, praise my heroes, do all the things I'm telling you to do, and we will fix this. We will, show the boogeyman who's boss. And that's exactly what ended up happening. And it's for that reason, once again, why we believe the narrative of Black Wall Street. There was a race massacre. Whites didn't want us to be successful, and so they burned everything down. We believe that Martin Luther King was a hero. We believe LBJ was a hero. We believe FDR was a hero. You'll notice that everybody who they heroize in the media today, here in 2023, have a leftist kind of ideology that they believe in. why don't they give the same kind of respect and admiration to people like, say, for example, Thomas Sowell, or Milton Friedman, or Booker T. Washington, or Grover Cleveland, or William Taft? They don't. They ignore these people because they go against their agenda, again, to build a socialist utopia, a kind of Tower of Babel. That's their goal, and they're going to continue to praise the heroes and the so-called leaders on the way to getting there.
And men like Walter Williams as well, may his soul rest in peace, but he had a major impact on the great things in America. But yet a lot of black people don't even know about him because the black liberals and white liberals have kept him in the background as much as possible.
Exactly.
Amazing.
100%.